I'm Sharon. Ruthie's mom, Ruthie's daughter. I'm in the army. I'm in the army doing nothing and coming back tomorrow
Thank
to
you
do
for your
nothing.
service.
To do nothing. MashaAllah.
Cool.
What
And the
base are you in
youngest.
now?
Sorry, Dai?
What base are you in? Where are you based?
I'm in the south in Sde Boker, which is nice. But most of my job now is doing kitchen work that I love, to clean the dishes and stuff. Like I always do in the family.
Always, yes.
Cool.
Well, an army marches on its stomach, as Napoleon actually never said, but it's always quoted from him.
And the youngest of all just started the Shnat Shirut. Tamarosh.
Sorry, hi.
Hi.
I'm Tamara. And Haki's youngest daughter. And I just started a week ago, like a gap year before the army to volunteer in South Tel Aviv.
How's it going?
And great.
Yeah?
Perfect. Yeah.
As a kid. That's
Tודה.
Say a few words about yourself, and then we'll show a beautiful presentation about Dad that Ilan and Dana made some 9 years ago, I think.
9 years ago, yes.
9 years ago, and then
no,
we'll bring up memories of Dad, like special memories. But if you'd like to say a few words about yourself, what you are busy with these days, what you think about Corona, whatever.
Just a minute, my son came to say hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Shalom.
This is our uncle, זה הדוד שלנו מאנגליה.
Cousin.
This is Ro'i, is Ellie's first grandson. הנין הראשון של סבא אלי.
Missed him by a few months only.
No, a few weeks.
הבן של אחות של סבא.
That was in the last month of pregnancy when my father passed away. He knew he was going to have a grandson. He was very, very happy about it. And Roi's second name is Eliyahu, after him.
Elias.
So we are first cousins, is it first cousins 3 times removed?
You should ask Diane. She's the master in.
Well, between you and Barak? And Ro'i. Okay, it's the same. So you would be your first cousin. So it's first cousins twice removed.
Twice removed, okay.
Yeah.
But
That's
you
the American
count it differently in Hebrew, right?
Yeah, you're lucky if you're in touch with your first cousins in this family.
You don't have a name for that. We just describe the situation.
Yeah, they call it second cousin. As long as there's another generation, they just add another first cousin, second cousin, third cousin. You know, they don't get into it.
So David, would you like to tell us a bit about yourself?
Well, let's see. You want me to tell you about how I first met Eli, which was when I was when I was about 13, I think it was. Because as you probably know, Eli and my mother had been estranged for several years. And in that time, our families really had no contact. Also, wasn't much money around in those days. So, you know, it wasn't, and telephoning was expensive. So with all those things, we didn't really make contact until Eli came to visit us for the first time. I think it was round about, I think I was 13. So that would have been 1966, which was the time of the World Cup, but he didn't come during the World Cup. But when he did come, he took me to a football match, and that was the only football match, by the way, I've ever been to in real life.
England, Argentina.
No, it was it was Chelsea versus Fulham.
Ah, so it was not among the 60.
No, it wasn't part of the World Cup. No, there was something, I think it was originally planning to come during the World Cup, but then he couldn't, something like that. You know, it's kind of.
So it came in the 66.
Yeah, and I told him that we had recently had to choose between different subjects in school. In those days, there was more choice than now. And we had to choose between economics, British Constitution, which is what the Americans call civics, and something. And I had managed to get out of all of them because schools are so inefficient, they can't really keep track of you. So I told Eli, and he said, well, economics is a good thing. So I said, how can it be a good thing if there's such a thing as left-wing and right-wing economists? That was really the only thing I knew about economics. And he said, the important things they all agree on. So I said, what are those? And so when we came back from the football match, he gave me my first ever economics lesson. And I still remember it. Wow. I still remember the examples he used with the supply curves and the demand curves. And I saw that there was a real thing there. And he didn't make any political propaganda at all. It was all just mathematics and logic. And so that's and then my mother had made sure that I knew about Eli. So Eli was always kind of on my horizon as this great Zionist hero. And she had the Eli stories, and she told me like all her Eli stories, and they were amazing. But when he came and he started telling me the stories, they were much better. They were much more exciting stories than my mother had told me, including one, which if any of you have heard of it, this is one that is not in the autobiography or other documents that you have sent me. It's how he saved, trouble is I can't remember it exactly, but he saved the daughter or the granddaughter of the Lubavitcher Rebbe from Poland after the war.
Yeah, in Warsaw.
Yeah. So you know that story.
Yes, we know.
So, well, if you have any details, please tell me. I would like to write it down. And then
it is written in the Honroti. It is written in one of the books, I think, this story.
Okay, well,
I'm not sure I know the story. If I don't know it, it means it's not written. And it's not recorded either. So if any of you know it, why don't you tell it?
Yeah, if anyone knows it, I would like to know it. Because
I remember, I don't remember about the granddaughter. I remember about Einstein secretary.
Ah, that's a different story, but that's from, no, that's when he went to Moscow.
There was another story.
And he met this woman in Romania on the way.
Yes.
And she then asked him to, it's a long story. So I'm not going to tell the whole story, but this woman knew Einstein, she worked with him.
Yes.
And then she wanted to come to Israel, and the Soviet regime exiled her to Romania to teach in a high school. And then Dad managed to bring her to Israel, but The Ministry of Defense in Israel didn't trust her because she came from Russia, and she was a scientist, and she wanted to be part of the Ministry of Defense. They wouldn't let her. She didn't pass the security test, and then she actually left to go to America. But how my dad knew about it, because she gave him the details of her brother in Israel, and she sent a hammer that belonged to their father, who was a carpenter or a shoemaker before the war. And when he went to visit the brother, then the brother told him and showed him a whole thing full of letters between this woman and Einstein before the war.
But Ruti, there was a story also about the Lubavitcher, and he helped her to go through borders. And
Yes, that's the story.
Eventually get to the States.
Well, I think the story was first he managed to get her to Israel, and then they forced her to go to the States from there.
Yeah,
thus making Eli very, very angry with them.
That's true.
So you know this story. So where can I read this story?
No, it's not written. I remember it vaguely. It's not written, unfortunately.
אפשר להתקדם, אני חושב, לסרטון.
Also the remake.
No, the thing is, we have 9 minutes left on this round, and we want to show the presentation, and I think that's a bit longer.
Yeah.
So...
רותי, את רוצה שדיין תשלח? יש לה...
לא, יש לנו, זה לא הבעיה. הבעיה היא שהוא...
בלי מגבלת זמן.
קישור?
כן.
אוקיי. די?
You will send the next...
די, את רוצה לשלוח קישור שהוא לא מוגבל בזמן, ואז נקרין את
הסרטון? I have from the university, I have a Zoom account, and it isn't limited to 40 minutes. But I have to go to my laptop. It'll take me a few minutes to do that. So the question is...
בוא נעשה פה עוד 40 דקות, זה ילך הכי מהר.
Whatever's easier. Yeah, I should have set it up in the beginning, sorry.
So Sheldon's gonna send a new link, and we're all gonna, go on to the new link, and then we'll show the presentation, and maybe some other people can think about special stories that they want to tell about Saba Eli for after the presentation.
I just want to say to David that I remember, I don't remember exactly when was it, but you gave me a lecture about economy.
Really?
Where you praised the capitalism. And you said that socialism and communism was complete wrong.
I don't remember that at all. Was that in Israel?
I think it was when I was with Rachel, and we came to visit you in Oxford, and you were walking around the Oxford Street.
That's very rude of me.
You
must have provoked me with some questions.
You have all kind of theories, but this is the one I remember very. I remember it impressed me, but I never thought about it.
David, let me ask you a question. You were born in Haifa, right?
Yes.
And your family left, your parents left with you when you were around 2 years old, right?
3, about 3, yes.
So in all those years, he never came to visit you there or to see you?
Oh.
Eli.
Well, so in the first few years after that, Eli and my mother were not on speaking terms.
When you left? When they
left, and for the next 10 years or so.
Right?
Sorry?
Oh, of course, before they came to the kibbutz, they were visiting us, we have photographs.
So you saw him when you were very little.
Yes. I saw him when I was 3, and then again when I was 13.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Were they estranged because of the issue of your leaving for
Yes.
London?
Yes.
He was upset, yeah.
He was upset. My mother was upset. I mean, it was a very hard time for really everybody. It was the 1950s.
Yeah.
If they had stayed in Israel for another 6 months, they would never have left, because the Suez crisis happened in between. And you know, my mother was just on a knife edge about whether to leave or not. My father had this amazing opportunity in London with his brother, and he flew there and back and said, you know, but my mother had been brought up all her life to be a Zionist and build the country.
Yeah.
And it was a very bitter thing for her, but you know, on the other hand, she thought, well, at least I won't have to go into the army. So that was the thing that she comforted herself with. But
rightfully so.
But well, you know, people are human.
Well, she was obviously much stronger than me.
The other reason that Eli was cross with Tikva and Oscar was the fact that he was speaking German.
That was already before, yes.
As a child.
Yes.
And he was very furious about it.
Speaking German?
Yeah. At home, they spoke German. You know, German at the beginning of the state, when we came to Israel, was abandoned. No, we should not speak German at all. Only Hebrew. No Yiddish, no German, nothing. Just, you know, that was the atmosphere. Yeah. You're right, Imlo. I never understood this boycott.
Well, it was, as I said, it was very hard times, and before that, of course, was much harder times. Still, today it's simply no comparison. It's like you know, we think we have problems today.
Yeah.
But by comparison, it's a very easy life today.
Yeah.
Well, if any of you haven't had the opportunity to read the draft of the biography that David wrote about Tikva, I don't know if you published it, but the chapters, the first chapters are fascinating, and it's about their life as children. So it's about Tikva, but it's also about Eli, and it's just wonderful. So if any of you have a chance, if you're willing to keep sharing it, I think anybody who wants to read it will really enjoy it. I loved it.
Well, if any of you do, any comments you have are very welcome.
I think you're the expert.
Especially if you find mistakes in it.
Send us the latest copy. The latest edition.
I will send you a link to the latest version.
Yeah. Yes.
Thanks.
I think we should leave now, and I'll just make a new Zoom.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye. And nobody understood my joke.
We understood. I understood for sure.